Now this is weird. It's time for a best of 3 series from the GSL Code S, where in the bottom left-hand corner, we have none other than the Gumi god himself, the Towel Terran. It's GuMiho. His opponent, though, considered to be the highest-ranked Terran from the Korean region. Playing with the blue Protoss pieces, we have Maru. Now, this happened not too long ago with the most recent Home Story Cup. It was GuMiho versus Clem in the grand finals. And Clem also decided to off-race against Gumi. It seems like every Terran player in the world is terrified of playing against GuMiho in a Terran versus Terran. Gumi's TVT is extremely good. He's a very flexible player, a very creative player, but everybody keeps dodging him. The problem is that even though GuMiho's Terran versus Terran is excellent, his Terran versus Protoss is great too. And this is Maru off-racing against one of the world's best Terrans. I know that Maru's Protoss is supposedly awesome, but to do this in the GSL seems very ambitious. I haven't seen Maru play a whole lot of Protoss, so I guess we'll have to find out exactly what ended up going down. But I don't think GuMiho is too... If I was... I mean, I guess I can't really ask GuMiho this, but I can imagine GuMiho does not really mind playing against one of his main competitors off-race. Like, in my mind, GuMiho much rather plays against Maru's Protoss than he would play against Maru's Terran, right? Like, Maru's Terran's really scary. Maru's TVT is considered to be some of the absolute best in the world. There's a lot of Terran players in Korea, and Maru has won more tournaments in Korea than anybody else, so naturally, he's won against a lot of Terran players. Anyway, apparently he's not confident in his TVT, so he decides to whip out PVT instead. I'm gonna make the assumption this will be Blink Stalkers every game, sort of like Clem playing Protoss against, well, other Terran players. I highly doubt we're gonna be seeing some sort of Stargate shenanigans, but maybe. He's coming up on 100 gas soon. We'll probably see another unit though first, yeah. Gotta be Stalker into an Adept. But when he comes up on 100 gas, we'll have to see what sort of tech he decides to go for. I highly doubt though that it will be a Stargate opener. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And when you think about it, Blink Stalkers, they're probably the closest thing that Protoss has to playing Marine Marauder Medevac, right? Like Blink Stalkers with a Prism and stuff. It is all pretty reminiscent, whereas like a Stargate opener is quite a bit further away from home. Anyway, does this mean that GuMiho needs to do anything weird? Like, if you are GuMiho in this situation, do you play something funky? You're known as a creative Terran, but he's perfectly capable of playing normal. Whatever that means, right? He's perfectly capable of playing the established meta. I think if you're in GuMiho's shoes here, you just trust in playing your normal game. I don't think you're really too concerned. Your opponent is the one doing weird stuff now. Let him. Just play a normal match, see how it can go. Now, this first Stalker coming in is nice. Hallucinated Phoenix, of course. SCV hides on the side. Cyclone on the back of this, just to be safe against everything. Blink, indeed, will be Maru's weapon of choice. We'll have to see how many gateways he makes. That is a Stalker that goes down. Yeah. Dead Stalkers. Not a good start here for Maru, actually. Cyclone is extremely normal in this matchup. At least he shouldn't be surprised. Gateway number 2 and 3 are coming up. The norm is to go 3 gateways into a third nexus. Alternatively, you can go 2 gateways into a third nexus, or like 4 gateways into full aggression, depending on how greedy or aggressive you feel. So far, GuMiho is intercepting everything extremely nicely. He's also sending in a medevac across the map. Trying to see if he can put in some work. And this is so far unscouted. Yeah, Maru can't see that little spot. Oh, if he kills the pylon? Dude, if you target the pylon here... maybe a bit too much damage there, but everything here is powered by a single pylon. Third Nexus starts up, but perfect timing here again by the Gumi God. Second Cyclone also available. That's a little bit odd, I suppose, but he's going to be able to get the kill on the third Nexus with ease. And so far, this is all a little bit embarrassing for the Terran, who's playing Protoss. Because none of this is going well. Like, it's not going... Oh my god. It's not even going poorly, I suppose. You can just target another Nexus. Target it. Oh, he's a bit late on the second lock-on, I think. Or maybe the cooldown was not yet available. Despite it being bugged. Okay, that was a good catch, I guess, for Maru, though. The fact that he actually got something there for his troubles in the end. Very much so worthwhile. There is, of course, a moment when Cyclones fall off. And I guess, yeah, GuMiho doesn't really mind. We'll likely arrive, though, at the lull of Terran versus Protoss soon, where Terrans want to go into Stimpack, they want to get combat shields going, they want to research all of the things, maybe even +1 infantry attacks too. We'll probably see that start up in the engineering bay in just a moment. Good interception here by Maru, okay. Anticipating something. Okay, this match didn't start off great for him, but this is looking way better now. Yeah, so GuMiho is going to be forced behind his little wall off here. Stimpack has already been started. We'll probably see a tech lab over here in a moment, and then he's going to research the combat shields too. Start command center, building inside of the main base. This is going to give Maru a little bit of time to breathe. Now, how is he breathing so far? Well, apparently we're making a transition into charge together with +1. Additional gateways coming up too. No robo facility. Oh, no, we do have a robo facility, but only using it for observer production for now. Fair enough. Not much he can do with the Stalkers, though. He can sort of set them up over here, but the siege tank count is going to make it quite difficult for him to really get real damage done. Even though this Stimpack research is looking very spicy, I don't think you're going to be able to kill it. More barracks coming up. Hallucinated Phoenix also scouts it. I think if GuMiho would have kept that one medevac with the 2 Cyclones alive, he would have gone straight across the map. In this instance, we're going to wait for a little bit as Maru decides to go for a very quick 4th Nexus all the way at the 12 o'clock position. Oh, he blinks into the main base. Ooh, he does get 2... Oh, God, that was terrible. Hold up right now. Sorry, I'm backing up. I didn't even check these Stalkers because I didn't think there was a way that he was going to blink in. He decides to blink onto these siege tanks, kills 2 of them, but loses pretty much all of the Stalkers in the process. Yeah, now GuMiho will march immediately. Let's go. We're going on a little adventure. 2 siege tanks for like 8 Stalkers or maybe 7 Stalkers. Not worth it at all. GuMiho doesn't even really have to be aggressive, though. He can also just sit back on his 3rd Nexus. Depends on how aggressive he's feeling today. But I think you have to, at the very least, take a bit of a shot. A Robo Bay on the back of this for Maru, who's likely going to go into Colossi. But at this point, he's got 6 Stalkers and an Immortal. So not really that many units for him. Yeah, GuMiho decides to play it safe. I can't really blame him. This is a perfect opportunity for him to go attack if he wants to. But this is the GSL we're talking about. Do you really want to take any chances? We had a similar matchup recently. I think this was Cure going up against... Was it Cure versus Trigger, I want to say? I'm not exactly sure. Where the Terran player dragged it out for an extremely long time. To the point where I felt like it was all getting a little dangerous. Because it felt to me like he could have won the game quite literally 10 minutes before he ultimately did. The longer you wait, the more complex the Protoss army becomes. Like right now, it's mostly Zealots and Stalkers. But in a few minutes from now, it will be like Colossus and then into Storm and maybe Disruptors. And you're fighting this much more difficult army. GuMiho, though, is smelling a little bit of blood, it seems. Multi-pronged aggression, making it difficult for the Colossus to really get value in. Like, where do you use it? Do you use it in the drop, or do you use it over here at the front? Well, the drop in the main base or in the natural expansion is putting in an awful lot of work. How about this fight? Looks like the Terran is going to be pushed away, but GuMiho is already dealing a ton of damage in the meantime. I mean, if he kills the Robo facility or the Robo Bay, that would be massive. Oh, Robo Bay is actually going to go down. Yikes. Maru was trying to extend his thermal lance, but it's not going to happen. It's just like me back in college. Anyway, Marine drop is absolutely lethal. And you know what? That fight up north, even though the Terran was deflected for a moment, it's come back with a, well, a group of reinforcements now, too. Looks like most of the units in the natural expansion are gone. Immortal, though. Not so immortal now. Colossus, also not immortal. GG gets cold. GuMiho absolutely dominates game number 1. Alrighty, next up, we find ourselves on Incorporeal. Map number 2 in this best of 3 series. It's gotta be a nice ego boost as well for GuMiho, though, when everybody keeps dodging your TVT. I'm not even sure if he believes his Terran versus Terran is that strong, because I do think it's good, but, you know, it is TVT in the end. It's a bit of a random matchup. But when people keep dodging your Terran versus Terran, you definitely start believing in yourself quite a bit. Now, TVT is really a good matchup for GuMiho for sure, but even though that wasn't the cleanest game, number one, it didn't even look particularly close. For that series, by the way, that GuMiho played against Clem during Home Story Cup, Clem did switch to Protoss, but he did not win the tournament. So, yeah, even though maybe... The idea is cool, right? Like, if you can win against one of your main competitors playing your off race, that's a huge ego boost. But then if you don't, it looks a little awkward. Now, look at this. Maru actually going Stargate. I've casted so many Clem games where he is playing Protoss against another Terran that I just kind of assumed that every single Terran that would be off-racing with Protoss would then also automatically play Twilight Council into Blink, but not the case. Maru is opening up with something that is very different for a Terran player. Cyclones in general, I mean, I guess the closest thing that Terran has would be like maybe a Banshee, but these units are way better than Banshees. Not even particularly close. Do we not send it across? Okay, so we're doing a single Oracle into now Phoenix production. A Robo facility on the back of this, so we'll probably see a Robo Bay. In the meantime, we already have a bit of a dance on the... well, in the middle of the map, actually. So this is likely going to be a dead adept. And that means that Maru is now in the dark. Honestly, GuMiho just has a load of units. Like, it's 10 Marines, a Medevac. This is a pretty normal amount of pressure. And not quite your norm as far as the early game goes for Protoss. Like, that one Oracle has achieved very little. It put up a Stasis Ward in the natural expansion, but so far, I mean, it's out of energy. We do have the energy recall ability or the energy recharge ability available on the Nexus. I think you should use it pretty much immediately, just to try and not die in the process, because this Oracle is going to be extremely important. GuMiho goes, gee, really? He just goes home? Alright. No, we're not just going home. Okay. At least the Cyclone walks into the Stasis Ward and not the entirety of the army. Robo Bay on the back of this. I don't like the positioning of that at all. This is not with Stimpack. There's no combat shields or anything like it. This is GuMiho just attacking with tier 1 units. And a whole load of them. That's the plan. We're on 31 SCVs only. CC on the low ground is done, but this is a straight 1-1-1 right here for Gumi. Third Nexus starts up. I mean, Maru, you need to defend this first. This is not going to be that easy, man. We have a Liberator joining in the fray, too. Technically speaking, Phoenixes can get rid of that, but I love the SCVs coming across, too. Another one of the siege tanks, the one in the back. It moves forward. We can alternate this. We can now move the further siege tank in the back. Well, a little bit further forward than two. Pylon goes down. Zealot goes down. Another Pylon is not going to be far behind. Yeah, you have to commit. Oh my god, this is going to be an absolute, well, meat grinder for these probes if he decides to send them in. A couple of the siege tanks do get lifted. Immortal, though, gets targeted down by the Marines. And that means that the other tanks are still available. Medevacs are... It's all very messy. And ultimately, this is way better for GuMiho than it is for Maru. You're supposed to swoop in and absolutely destroy that Terran army, because if you don't, and these attacks continue, GuMiho will just rally everything he's got towards the other side of the map. Robo Bay has gone down. Robo Facility is gone too. Yeah, we're going to send more units down the meat grinder. A lot of probes are going to fall. The Liberator is having a grand old time, and what started off as an exciting series is one of the easiest 2-0 wins that GuMiho has had this year so far. Okay, let's have a look at the winners match for the GSL Code S. So what I've got for you is another Terran versus Protoss, and as you may have already guessed, we have none other than GuMiho taking down none other than Maru. His opponent, though, in the top left this time around, another Protoss player. This one, however, goes by the name of Classic. Okay, honestly, GuMiho made it look pretty easy in that first series. I don't think he really ran into any real problems, right? Like, maybe he had some weird strategies prepared. And maybe that is one of the frustrating things. So, with the GSL, generally speaking at least, for this one, the season is kind of rushed with the way that, like, the scheduling worked out. But usually you do know who you're going to be playing against in advance. So, all of the players here, they have had some time to prepare against the potential opponents they might be facing. And if you're GuMiho, you're probably making the assumption you're playing against Maru's Terran. So all of the preparation work that he may have done, well, you can throw it out of the window. And maybe what we saw in the previous games was originally prepared for Classic. So do you really change anything? Honestly, I feel like we didn't really see GuMiho, though, in full effect. Like, he didn't really do anything weird. That was a very, quote-unquote, normal game of TVP. That is the type of match that we see regularly on the StarCraft 2 ladder at the highest level. Okay. Well, the Gumi God is going around again. Getting a nice little bit of vision here on Pylon, which will be the first game in this best of 3. Already, though, nice movement here by Classic. Classic, by the way, really has stepped it up again over the last bunch of months. When he first started playing, I wasn't all too impressed. When he first started playing again, I should say. He's had some dips in his playing, in his gameplay over the last couple of years, but he has been looking very sharp again as of late. Always nice to see. These old pro gamers, you know. I think Classic is like 30. Maybe 31. Ugh, practically ancient. I'm 32. Anyways, the units do sneak in, but this is not going to be an army that will be able to leave. In the meantime, yeah, and this is the real problem for Gumi. His CC on the low ground has been delayed. Okay. Yeah, 4 probes, though. Problem here for Terran is that you need this command center, not just for economy, but also for supply. So GuMiho is making another depot right now behind his main base mineral line, because otherwise he would hit a giant supply block, which is suboptimal. So despite killing 4 workers on the other side of the map, I wonder if this is actually a beneficial situation for Classic, who can, of course, use that chrono boost to his advantage, get those workers out nice and rapidly once again. And we are following this up not with Blink, but with Charge. This is known as the Old Man Protoss. No, it's not known as the... But it doesn't require any micro. You can just kind of attack move at the correct moment and, yeah, let Tassadar take the wheel. And hope that your zealots charge in the right direction. Okay. That drop was a lot more successful against Maru earlier, as Classic seems to be on top of everything. Medevac goes down, and that means that these Terran units are going to have a difficult time making their way back home. Although, luckily for them, the Stalkers are guiding them. Just follow my lead. They have a little balloon up in the air as well. They're like a proper tour guide over here. They will show them where they need to be. Obviously, though, GuMiho has seen this many Stalkers, so you would imagine that Blink is going to finish up right about right now. Good saving right there on the siege tank, though. GuMiho is sending in another one of the tanks to save its brother. Very important. Stimpack starts up. Now, we have an observer. No, like, warp prism or anything along those lines yet. I'm assuming Classic will be adding on a Nexus here in just a moment. How many gateways does he make? Oh, he did make 4 gates. Problem is, if you attack this Terran player right now, I mean, this is very attackable with charge slots, though. The thing is, GuMiho has seen only Stalkers. Stalkers are garbage at engaging this sort of thing. But if you send a group of Zealots in, they will very quickly slice up those siege tanks. Then again, our Protoss here is not really in position to really use that to his advantage. If he would have gone for like a, I don't know, a quick prism. Oh, he's hiding the charge slots too. If he, yeah, would have gone with a quick prism, maybe it would have been an option. GuMiho doesn't know. GuMiho does not know about the charge. This is still certainly something he can deal damage with, but it's risky. The boys have been pulled as well. Nice little bit of juggle micro here, using those siege tanks to his advantage, but the target firing here from Classic is on point. Okay, he's trying to juggle as many of these units as he can, but SCVs are dying. Normally you have to go to the other side of the map. Even the sentry is trying to join in. Okay, excellent fight for Classic. Well, until he lost a couple of those stalkers. That was not the end of the world at all. Zealots have used their charge research there, so the cooldown is going to be triggered. Instead, we're going to go into the good old storm. Okay. Bit of a misread there for Gumi. He paid the price, but at least he didn't lose the game immediately. This is risky, but he knows that there's not going to be Blink out yet. Then again, you probably know it's going to be Charge into Blink. Normally it's Blink into Charge, so you would expect that Blink is going to finish soon. Feedback? Boom. Feedbacks go down perfectly. Excellent gaming here by Classic. Can't really fault the man so far. Feedbacks deal a lot of damage. At least the Medivacs didn't entirely die. The Stalkers would have been able to get a volley off as well, using the Blink to chase down those Medivacs. That would have been big. A second wave. GuMiho thinks that he needs to go for this right now, but I mean, he has seen that there are High Templar. He knows that Storm will not be far behind. It could be Zealots with Archons, I suppose? I don't think you fight this over here, Classic. I think you storm your opponent to death instead. I think you might want to go home with those SCVs, Gumi. I find it extremely risky to be committing over here with these extremely low HP units. At least the Marines are going to pick up an additional 10 hit points, but that is a good storm to start things off. A second storm as well to soften up the siege tanks. I thought we were going to go for the SCVs and the Marines for sure, but I mean, if all of the siege tanks are clumped, excellent game by Classic. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Ultra Love. Well managed by Classic. Not really making any mistakes whatsoever. GuMiho pulled off some fancy micro, and that was nice and all. But ultimately, he got out-strategized really hard. So not only did Classic macro really well, he microed really well, he also strategized very well. Now, Ultra Love is not a particularly weird map. This map doesn't really have a whole lot of tricks. It will be a Twilight Council opener here to start things off. Nothing all too odd. Maybe we'll go Blink this time around. But I really like how Classic made it look like he was playing Blink Stalkers. And he was hiding the Zealots for as long as possible. And then when GuMiho saw that the Stalkers didn't really deal any damage, even though he made like 7 of them, he decided to go for that big push, only to get overwhelmed by Zealots. Lucky for him there, he did not siege up the tanks in that middle of that fight. If he would have sieged up the tanks when he was juggling them, I mean, that would have been a disaster. Then every single one of the tanks would have died. It's a cute play right there by the Gumi God, but ultimately Classic, well, he played it a little bit better. Blink indeed will be what Classic goes for this time around. This is, of course, the Classic approach. Anyways, it is what Protoss players generally go for. Much worse username, by the way, generally. I think Classic is way better of a username, but anyways. It will be, yeah, good old Blink here, and we'll have to see how many gateways he makes. I'm going to make the assumption it will just be 3. 3 gateways into a 3rd Nexus. And then into the good old Blinky boys on the other side of the map. In the meantime, though, GuMiho is going into the Cloaked Banshees. So we have Siege Tank into, or Cyclone rather, into Siege Tank production. He's been committing quite a few of his resources to units for now. And it looks like Classic is well turtled up, right? He can't really go into the main base. Can't really go into the natural. Yep. The positioning here of the structures is absolutely key. Hallucinated Phoenix also allows Classic to see exactly what's going on, although he does lose it there. Cyclone hoping that maybe it can intercept something, but this time around, yep. Hallucinated Phoenix has taken a bit of a different path. Very nicely done so far by Classic. Yeah. Classic apparently 33 years old, by the way. 33! Ay, ay, ay. He's even older than me. Even older. Can you imagine that? Good movement over here, though. Blink is now only seconds away from finishing, but he's already killed most of the troops. How about this fight over here? Blink, 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 blink. Saves it. Nicely done. Yo, excellent work. There is, in the meantime, though, a Banshee going to town, and this one is going to put in some damage. Looks like he killed the Reaper here eventually, too. But this is nice for Gumi. Finally getting his feet under him here. Stalkers, though, trying to see if they can snipe some of the units from behind, and that's another Marine falling. Positioning them in such a way that he can intercept any of the troops. And it looks like a bunch more Marines are going down, although he gets a Stalker for his troubles. Okay. Third Nexus. We're going charge first. Well, charge second, but charge first before making another base. I don't think Classic can really commit here, but he wants to try. Oh my god, he's using one siege or one of the Stalkers over here to lead the rest of the Stalker pack. It did indeed eat the siege tank shot. He's gonna try and do the same thing again. Yep. Splitting it off, mitigating splash. Loses a few more Stalkers this time around, but the siege tank numbers are looking pretty low. Yeah, it's just a single one. There is no observer in the mix, though, so a Cloaked Banshee could be a problem. There is another Cloaked Banshee, though, going to town in the meantime. GuMiho going triple Banshee. It's a little bit funky. We usually only see 2. Or 1. Okay. Does kill the other one at home. Templar Archives again on the back of this. Third Command Center in the meantime. Combat shield or combat shields will probably start up in a moment, but we'll have Stimpack for now together with the +1. Yeah. GuMiho trying to finesse his way into a big advantage. And the Banshees are really the only successful portion of it. They have paid for themselves, though, surely. 8 workers is pretty good, but everything else he's done? Not really. And I quite like how Classic used all of that information to then realize, yo, if he is doing all of these little tricks, there can't really be that much of a buffer for those siege tanks at the front. So I'll just sacrifice like 3 Stalkers to get 2 siege tanks. That'll be a trait that I can take any day of the week. Okay. Storm coming up here for Classic. When I first started watching StarCraft 2, people told me that pro gamers would start getting bad at like age 25. I was like, well, I guess that's the case then. 25, that's the upper limit for a pro gamer. Turns out the reason is that pretty much all the pro gamers in the early days of esports in general were pretty much all from Korea. And in Korea, you have a military service that you have to generally start by the time that you are like 26, 27. So that just happened to coincide with, well, the time that pro gamers would retire. A lot of them would go and do their military service, and then when they were done, they would, well, sometimes try to get back, but they lost like a year and a half of practice. Turns out that's quite a lot in a very difficult industry like this, right? When you're competing at a high level and your competition is still practicing, difficult to put into work. So a lot of them transition to a quote-unquote normal job. Nowadays, though, we have a lot of Koreans going off to the military, like, for example, both of these guys. It takes them usually maybe like a half year to get back up to a reasonable level, but it turns out guys that are good at games are good at games. Even if they take a bit of a break, they can still bring it back. And APM-wise, it's really not an issue. Oh, look at this. This is awkward. You see? Sorry, can we see those Stalkers humping again? That was weird, dude. Sorry, this is a bit of a personal moment for those Stalkers, but I want to see it. What were they doing? They were trying to reach that Banshee. That's so cursed. All right, I'm glad they blinked away. At least we now know where baby Stalkers come from. All right. Baby Stalker. That is how you get your videos demonetized, Loco. Don't say that. Anyways, a single pylon has been sniped. GuMiho is going for a big attack, but where is this attack going? Do we want to go and drop into the main base? High Templar. Ooh, dude, he keeps storming the siege tanks. You normally opt for the low HP targets, but Classic keeps storming the siege tanks. And, whoa, we have a big drop countering the drop over here. He picks up the High Templar again, drops them down once more. He wanted to morph them into an Archon. They could not quite embrace one another before one of them ended up getting sniped. But that's a brilliant defense so far, I believe at least, for Classic. GuMiho losing pretty much everything in the process, but he still has some troops left over. This is going to be the final storm of that particular engagement. Overextension by GuMiho for sure. Brilliant micro here by Classic. I really like how Protoss players have found the High Templar again. For years, they were quite uncommon. Like, we didn't really see them that often. At least not at this stage in the game. Oh, because of the energy recharge, you can get extra storms so quickly. GuMiho is sending all of the reinforcements to the middle of the map. Targeted the prism for just a moment. It did not quite go down. There's not a single Viking available. GG gets called. Classic. Playing a brilliant set of Protoss versus Terran. He shows us how this matchup is supposed to be played. GG.